Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Bunker Podcast. We are back again, quick and sharp as ever, with another exciting interview and live session today for the people at home. And today we are joined by a very special guest, another very exciting artist. He is hailing from the land of Peterborough.
Yes, indeed.
The land down under. We've got Archer in the building. How you doing, my dog?
Hello, not too bad.
My dude, yeah, it's been a pleasure to have you on.
It's been a pleasure to be here, bro. Thank you very much.
Anytime, man, anytime. We've obviously just done the live session. You're a mad, talented guy.
Thank you.
So, always a pleasure to have talented people on the podcast, on the show.
Thank you, bro.
I'll get all the admin stuff out of the way. If you could drop a like and a subscribe, it goes a long way. Really appreciate it. But yeah, let's dive straight in then, bro. So what was life like for you growing up, and where did your journey towards getting involved in music originate, I guess?
My life growing up, let's start with that. So I'm a very lucky boy. I've born into a family where my mum and dad are still together, which I know is rare these days. And I think that's really helped me become the person I am today beyond my music.
For sure, yeah.
I was raised by good parents and taught me the right things, manners, etc. Do you know what I mean? So I owe a lot of my childhood and my life to them.
This isn't even just about music. This is just generally in life. Yeah.
So I was quite blessed growing up, which I think allowed me to explore what I wanted to do with my life and feel free to kind of dabble in different things. Early on, primary school, I kind of got straight involved with like the drama clubs, the choirs, and that sort of stuff.
Based on your live session, I was detecting maybe like a little theatre kid back in the day, you know.
Yeah. So I've always liked performing, man. It's always been something I love doing, and naturally I just kind of carried on doing that throughout primary school. I wrote my first few songs in primary school with one of my friends. We'd get up and like show and tell and like perform and stuff because that's just what I like doing. So then I kind of moved up into secondary school. I can't lie, I pushed it to one side for a few years. And then
I think that's part of being a teenager, though, isn't it? It's like you kind of... we touched on this briefly outside, before the cameras were rolling, but like that whole idea of like when you're in secondary school, you just want to survive, don't you?
Exactly.
It's about survival. You can't be too vulnerable, or
exactly.
So you kind of go in within yourself a little bit. But when did you start coming a bit more out of your shell and sort of exploring that sort of creative identity, I suppose?
I think, like I say, it was always there deep down. It was actually a school initiative, like Battle of the Bands. I'm sure most people have had it at some point, but that kind of forced me to get up and perform again, and I loved it, as I always did, and the reception I got was quite nice, which kind of told me like, okay, maybe I can do this without being that kid that gets up and sings. I mean, don't get me wrong, once we got into the swing of things, I got my fair share of shit, but as I said earlier, I'm a stubborn guy, so it almost made me want to prove my point more. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've always been striving. There's people I want to prove wrong, there's people I want to prove right. And like music has just always been there. I can't really explain that part of it.
Yeah, for sure. Talk to me a little bit about, so like before we get on into like the specifics of the music, your name, again, another thing I mentioned outside. I presumed it's your first name, but it's not. I don't want to air the government name out on the podcast or anything like that.
I'm a good man.
But so what was the origins of it? Well, you've explained a little bit to me already, but explain to the people, what's the origins of that? And I presume you've had the thing about comparing it to Archer, the TV show, the animated series as well. So, do you want to get into the background of that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know the TV show existed when I made it. Maybe I would have come up with something different if I did. But,
it's a good show.
I haven't actually watched it properly myself. Like, maybe I need to give it a go. I don't know.
The early seasons are good. It falls off a little bit. But...
Okay. So my first project was called Tampa, and that was inspired a little bit by what went on my holiday out in Tampa, Florida. I went out there on a family holiday, and being in a new place, it just inspired me. So that's what I chose to title my first project. And I thought it'd be cool to go with this theme of places, almost have these little timestamps in different places in my life. The street I live on is called And that's where I decided to kind of bring that in and make that a part of the theme, I guess. I mean, don't get me wrong.
That's like the sort of origin place almost. Like this is home in a
It's
sense.
the house I was born in. It's the house I still live in with my parents. Do you know what I mean? So it's very much part of my identity anyway. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
It's quite integral, so like you wanted that to be like the cornerstone of like the.
Absolutely.
It sounds a bit like wanky, but like the branding sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like at the core of that, there is something sentimental sort of layered in there. In a sense.
It's home. It's me. It's where I come from. Do you know what I mean? So it's
man.
It's always going to be part of my identity, and I think that's why I feel comfortable wearing it as my identity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like you're not scared to be sort of authentic in that sense.
No, I think that's one of the most important things you can be in an industry like this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. People certainly gravitate towards like realism, don't they, with art and music and everything like that.
For real.
You mentioned Tampa actually, so let's start with that like debut project right there. Let's I obviously want to talk a little bit more about like your newer stuff as well, because I'm sure that's the stuff you're excited to talk about. But let's track it back a little bit to begin with, and talk to me a little bit about that opening project. I think it was the second track from that debut project titled Something. Do you mind if I recite some of the lyrics back?
Of course,
from that song?
absolutely.
Right? So the opening lyrics to that track go, I fucked up this time, overstepped the line, and I know it ain't the last time. What's the specific story behind those lyrics? Because I feel as though thematically that touches on that kind of idea of self-accountability, which is something that's like really important to me in my life as someone who's like fucked up themselves. We're all human. Like what does that mean to you? Is that concept of self-accountability, is that important to you as well, I suppose?
I think to an extent. I think it's more about being self-aware than necessarily being self-accountable. I think they're two very different things. As an artist, it might sound a little bit toxic, a little bit bad, but I think it's important to not necessarily push down the bad parts of yourself, so long as you recognise them. Do you know what I mean? And can kind of, don't get me wrong, be honest and don't be cynical, but everybody has their vices, everyone has their flaws. It's not necessarily about shutting them down, it's about acknowledging them. I feel like the song itself is actually about a relationship I was in back when I was younger.
For sure.
As I say, I was out in Tampa, had a few things that inspired me out there. And maybe I did overstep the line a little bit. I wouldn't say I quite cheated, but there's attraction around and you see it and you start wondering whether you're kind of holding yourself back from a whole world of opportunity. And
for sure.
Do you know what I mean? There's a lot to experience in life. And I think it got to a point, I think at that age, I'd already been in the relationship 2 years, which is quite young for a 16, 17-year-old. Do you know what I mean? So
much of what you're saying I relate to. Some of my experience, I have very similar experiences to this.
Don't get me wrong, I feel guilty saying it as I'm saying it because, you
you got like the context being you're saying this is like an adult man as well. You're a different person to
100%.
back then,
But I recognise I did appreciate what I had in that moment. I loved the girl at the time that I was with, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's always that temptation outside. So it was kind of about realising that I'm seeing that temptation and although I'm not doing my best, maybe I am giving into it in certain ways. And again, so kind of acknowledging that I might have fucked up this time. I'm probably going to do it again if I'm being honest. But,
almost like brutally honest with yourself in a sense.
But I think it's important to acknowledge that because, it's led to where we are now. I'm happy. I hope she's happy. But regardless, we're living separate lives and I'm doing what I wanted to do with my life. I'm not putting that aside for something that's comfortable.
I do think as we grow older, we desire different things. We want different things. And
absolutely.
That's okay in a sense, right? It's okay to want more
Definitely.
as we grow, more than... You know what I'm saying?
100%. I think the thing with puppy love, it's the inexperience that defines it. You meet this person and you haven't been through experiences where you've broken up with people and, that first time you think, I love this person, that's who I'm with now for like eternity, right?
Yeah.
But then as you grow up, you're still discovering who you are. And you don't have to be doing the wrong thing to grow away from someone. Do you know what I mean?
No, 100%.
I think, don't get me wrong, there's young relationships that might last, but for the most part, I think you're always going to become the person you're meant to be way later than you expect.
Oh God, yeah, 100%.
So yeah, I think it's all just a learning curve, really, isn't it?
Yeah, like, because there's no crash course, there's no manual of how to do it. It's like, all you can do is throw yourself into these situations. And
exactly.
We live, we learn, and I think as we get older, we learn a bit more about who we are. We grow as people,
Precisely.
and we learn more about what we actually want from not just from relationships, but from life in general, and
exactly.
whether you're on the same path with someone and that whole kind of idea, really.
Yeah. But I think that's what it's about, really. Just learning who you are and rocking with that. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, there's a lot of massive ballad style choruses and vocal segments in that debut project. Tunes like Lifeboat and Nevermind come to mind. Were you trying to push the limits of your vocal range with those sorts of vocals on that project, in a sense? Were you was that you really sort of figuring out the extent of what you could do as an artist for the first time in a word?
I think what you just said there in a nutshell kind of defines me as an artist. That's something I always try to do. I find there's certain songs on even the new projects where I've recorded them, and at points I've been like, how the fuck am I going to perform this live? But you record it, you practice it until you get it right, and
it's
that's
all
how you get better.
Man.
It's like your voice is a muscle, right? You work it and it improves. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
So yeah, I'm always trying to push myself and my voice with every project I do. But most importantly, make sure it's kind of communicating and holding the right emotional kind of vibe and content. Do you know what I mean?
Resonance.
That's the one. Yeah.
100%. Are you because obviously I'm gonna get onto this in a moment, but I feel like your latest two projects are really developed and experimental. But were you also really grateful for projects like Tampa, the debut project, and also
100%.
were you grateful to have that time to sort of put the hours into that and kind of develop your craft in a sense through that?
Yeah, so those first two projects were produced by an amazing guy called Mark Peacock, who has kind of acted as a mentor for me. He was local to Peterborough when I met him, and he helped me produce the first two projects. So I went round to his, and he was showing me all this stuff and setting up the synths and this and that. I was like, yo, I want to learn this. I want to figure this out. So again, he kind of mentored me until eventually I went to uni to study. I think that's where you can hear the difference in the first two projects.
Because you've kind of expanded your own knowledge base in a sense.
I've got that creative control now. But yeah, Mark's influence has massively kind of helped shape me as an artist. And I love that, the kind of big synths, the big bass that you hear, that kind of electronic side to it, is very much inspired by Mark and his kind of techniques, which of course he passed down to me. So yeah, I think those first two projects were extremely important for me, learning the process, learning how it's done. And then if it weren't for that, I wouldn't have been able to do it the way I wanted to going forward. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%, bro, 100%. You kind of need that... you often need someone else to kind of show you the ropes, and then you sort of figure out your own way from there in a sense of the word.
And I think a lot of artists you'll find do have that one mentor that help get them into it and help them figure it out and get them going. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's no idea is original in a sense. You take an influence from other people and putting your own spin on it, building your own sort of identity off the back of that in a sense. And right, okay, let's get into the follow-up project, Amongst the Lies I Tell Myself. That was what was the concept behind that? Because it sounds a lot more emotional and uncomfortable than your debut project, I would say. Were you in a darker place in your life when you wrote that, or was that more of a conscious effort on your part to touch on darker subject matter?
I'd say I was definitely a little bit more reflective. At that point, I had just broken up with the same person we speak about in something, and that was over me kind of wanting to go to London and again follow what I wanted to do in my life, and that not necessarily being a mutual feeling.
Like working out in the way that you necessarily wanted it to.
So that kind of ended when I left London, understandably, in hindsight. But I think it made things a lot more confusing when I got there. Being used to having someone next to you in nearly every other move you make, do you know what I mean? Being in a brand new city where you know no one, and you know you've got to kind of forge and create these friendships all over again, and these relationships just to feel like it's home.
For sure.
I think, you could say it was a darker place. So I kind of was quite reflective in that time, and I think that kind of encapsulates my first year in London, kind of learning the city, falling in love with it, and yeah.
Yeah, because it's like obviously there's the kind of the excitement, the chaos, that's all a part of it. But let me just read some more lyrics here. So, like the hook on "Far Gone," for example, goes, "I'm too far gone to pretend. I'm too far gone to ever go back again."
Yeah.
There's a hopelessness to that. Would you be comfortable like touching on that a little bit?
Yeah. So that song itself kind of touches on different subjects. As I say, this kind of project as a whole doesn't necessarily kind of encapsulate the relationship we were talking about, but my time arriving in London. So maybe in place of things or relationships, I found myself indulging in maybe a few habits that I shouldn't.
As we all do,
I was at a music university surrounded by other musicians.
God, we know how that's like, that's like,
yeah,
brother.
You're bound to have a good time, put it that way. And it got to a point where I was kind of considering maybe this is a little bit too much, a little bit too wild. But then also looking from the perspective, well, how do I change now? Do you know what I mean?
For sure, yeah.
Far Gone is very much embracing that kind of heathen mentality, that kind of not feeling any guilt in your shame. Do you know what I mean? And kind of, again, accepting your flaws and the negative things about you. Yeah, I'm too far gone. But, you know what I mean? That's kind of what it is right now.
It is this, it's kind of a self-acceptance of... like, heathen lifestyle is very interesting. I like that language. I'm a bit of a lover of language myself, so I like the paints a very vivid picture of the life that you were living at that point in time.
It was a little bit crazy.
But no, I think it's kind of going like, I've had these experiences, okay, and then trying to better yourself off the back of that.
Like I say, it's not maybe the best way of thinking, but as a musician, you know, we need excitement in our lives in order to tell these stories. And, you know, too much of a bad thing is a bad thing, but you got to find inspiration from somewhere. You've got to have a good time here and there and keep life interesting. So long as you know your limits.
Like you've got to, 100%. Like, it's like you said, like I think specifically as like creative people, we need like stimulus in our world. Yeah, 100%. It's the kind of well that we draw from.
And without, I don't know, maybe being a pessimist, my idols and a lot of the musicians you see out there, you know, as anyone would in any industry, we're just wanting to follow in our idols' footsteps. Do you know what I mean? So maybe the best example isn't set, but it's there for a reason. Do you know what I mean?
No, I totally get that. It's kind of like, what's the word? Like, even if you don't necessarily want to go or like go as far as that, it's like he's being able to relate to it and understand that. You know, like we're talking about like Kurt Cobain, for example. Like,
precisely.
It's not necessarily saying that that's the way you want to go, but it is saying it as creative people, we have kind of an understanding of that and how it can go that route. The last track on that project, Romeo, I think that's my favourite from that project.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
I can see why. Again, some of the lyrics here. So put your poison in my cup, I will drink it up. You will only quench my thirst. You're clearly drawing parallels between, you know, Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet with those lyrics. What inspiration did that parable play in the constructs of that tune? Is it purely an adaptation or rendition of that story? Or did you incorporate any of your own personal experience behind the story of that
song? I think that song is about a girl I met in London. I met her during Freshers, and we became quite close initially as friends. And I think that's what made it tricky for me. Having kind of grown up,
For
gone
sure.
from a boy to maybe a young adult in a relationship, kind of approaching people in certain ways isn't something I was necessarily used to. So it was kind of something that I found myself feeling for her and not really knowing how to tell her, and just locking it in deep inside until it blew out of proportion. You didn't know what to do with it, type thing.
For sure,
So
for sure.
I think that's where that song comes from. I definitely used the metaphor almost as a disguise at the time, I think.
Like, you're talking about something real, but like you're portraying it through
like,
this
it's
kind
quite
of
funny. I'd be
abstract
sat there
kind
with
of
this whole
lens,
metaphor.
yeah.
I'd be like, yo, listen to this song, and she'll be listening to it. Little does she know, do you know what I mean?
Oh,
We're all
it's
good.
Shakespeare.
We're all good.
He sounds really smart.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was about that. And I think the whole idea that deep down I knew it wouldn't necessarily work out is where I kind of felt inspired to draw the comparisons to Shakespeare, in the same way that Romeo and Juliet, they were never destined to actually work out because they were so opposite. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I
But
think
nonetheless,
people
the
kind of
feeling
miss that nuance
and
to
the
it, yeah.
chemistry existed between them, but it just had nowhere to go, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
like
And that's the
yeah.
feeling I had at the time, and that's where I kind of drew that metaphor in.
So it's not coming from a place of like, like you read the source material, the deeper messaging behind these things.
Absolutely,
Sort of like translating that to like your own personal experiences.
Exactly. But I think, in stories like that, people can find their own comparisons. So I'm almost glad that I didn't make it as specific as maybe I could have made it to my own life in that instance. Because people can then take that and apply that to whatever's going on in their romantic lives or even their outer lives. You know
Well,
what I
that's
mean?
it. You want it to be relatable. Like,
Exactly.
it's not. Like, in part, it's like with art, it's for you. It's for you to get your emotions out. But you also, like, if other people are feeling a certain type of way, you want them to relate to it and engage with it on whatever level they feel they want to as well.
And I'm always going to know what it means to me, so people can take it and have that as their own as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, bro. I've got another question before we move. You got. Is Romeo and Juliet your favourite Shakespeare, or have you got a?
Do you know what? It was just one I studied in school, so I knew it like the back of my hand, and I could draw those comparisons. I can't say I'm a big theatre nerd, but yeah, I kind of knew that story well enough.
I was going to say with the theatre kid kind of background, I thought it might be up your street, but it's one of them like you dabble, but it's not something that like, you're super.
I just
super
enjoy
into,
being on stage, and drama felt like a good way to kind of express that as well.
It is very expressive. It's a very expressive art form. Yeah,
I think it's part of the reason I feel as comfortable on stage as I do, because in your drama classes, I'm sure you'll know, they'll have you doing some crazy ass shit. And you get used to embarrassing yourself on stage. So when you're getting
awkward story. My first kiss was in a drama. Was in a play.
In
front of like the whole class. I was like 14.
I still think it's outrageous that they can make you do that.
I mean, we went to school in like a different time as well. This is like pre, certain cultural movements. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like nowadays you just couldn't get away with it, but like it was, when we were at school, there's different times, man. You know what I mean? 14, that was like 20, not 23. God, I'm not that old. That was like 13 years ago when that happened to me. So like. Fucking it was a different world.
No,
man.
I feel you. But
horrifically embarrassing experience. I can't lie.
But no, I think that's why I feel as comfortable on stage as I do now, just because I've spent time doing different things on stage.
Being made to do very awkward things on stage.
So it makes you feel it's easy when you're doing something you're proud of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so when you're like up there performing your songs, it's like, this is nothing.
No, it's what I'm used to. It's where I feel comfortable.
Yeah, man, 100%. So let's get more into like the sort of development of the later projects here, right? Yeah. So the early projects like Tampa, for example, and the other one, what was it? The Amongst the Live. I tell myself that one. Sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good.
A lot of names. But yeah, like those early projects, I can. see that you lift influence from artists like Maverick Sabre, a little bit of Kill Station. Obviously, we talked about The Weeknd, people like that. But you get into these later projects, 54 and Suicide City. You deviate much more into an experimental. I described it as sort of an acid house sort of lane. Sort of like psych hop, that kind of thing. I think you described it as. Basically, it's all very synth heavy, very bass heavy. Just what triggered that creative shift in that direction on your part, I guess?
As I say, Mark, the producer of the first two projects, he influenced me a lot in terms of maybe my instrumentation. So the synths, the bass, and what I use to create my sound. I think the main difference in those two projects is me being taking the productive reins and taking creative control myself. So I kind of produced all of those projects there. Of course, I had Mark's input, and I appreciate that a lot. Like
bouncing
always
ideas
hitting
off him
him
almost.
up. But I think that's where I took creative control and took it in the direction I kind of felt myself going.
For sure.
I think it's kind of funny that you say they sound a little bit experimental, because that's not necessarily what I was going for. I think
they sounded really like the latest stuff sounds really ambitious, you know.
But I think like
really different.
When I'm creating, I'm not necessarily thinking about genre or what kind of place it fits in the industry. More just making sure, now that I know how to portray my emotions through my voice, how can I portray the same emotions through the production and really make it feel cohesive and, collect that feeling that I'm trying to get across. Whatever song it is, whether it's happy, whether it's dark, whether it's love. Do you know what I mean? It's all about making the music feel the way you're talking or singing. Do you know what I mean? Is having that kind of... Do you sort of relish and thrive on that kind of having that creative control over like every aspect of 100%. I couldn't... don't get me wrong, I respect every artist's different way and their process. But I couldn't imagine kind of listening to a beat and trying to build a song on top of. I think my inspiration comes in little spurts where I'll be walking down the street and I'll hear the intro to a song and it goes like this. So this is how it's going to go. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't go find a beat that's similar and make that compromise. This is how it sounds in my head. This is how it's going to sound on the record. Do you know what I mean? And I really appreciate and I'm grateful that I have the ability to kind of do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's like, again, it's getting older and sort of developing as an artist, isn't it? It's kind of like, I think you get more like specific and you've got more of an idea of like exactly what you want in a sense. And, it's good having that like unfiltered process in a sense where you can sort of like express all of those ideas on your own terms and in your own time.
For real.
In a way. Okay, so on For You, that was on the 54 project.
Yes.
Your vocals on that track sound incredibly unique and bizarre. Did you use any weird like vocal instruments on that, like a voice box compressor? Or, what was like the construction behind that? Or was it like, did you do it on the, through the software? Or like, how did that come about?
That was just a heavy use of auto-tune, if I'm completely honest.
Sounded good whenever you did, man.
I felt like when I made the beat, it was kind of giving me a few kind of Juice WRLD type vibes listening from the beat. And I thought, this could do with a little bit of auto-tune, kind of blends me into a different genre and space, if you will.
For sure,
So I kind of filled that up with bare auto-tune. Maybe I'd take a little bit off in hindsight, just a tad, just to bring it down a little bit. But from what I remember, I think those are the only, maybe a phaser as well on the vocals. I'm not too sure. But other than that, not too much.
No, it's like the sonics of it in a sense sounded very kind of out of this world. If I was to sort of describe it. Very like quite different to. I know like with your early stuff, you had that like big like ballad style vocals, but like it sounded. Like it was quite different to that. Like you could see like vocally you were moving in a different direction.
I wanted something a little bit more poppy, a little bit more bouncy, and kind of something people could dance to a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? Something that's more likely to get the radio plays, stuff like that. I think that's why I kind of blended it a little bit more towards mainstream on that occasion.
Well, you kind of got to dip in and out of it, haven't you? Really, like,
that's the thing.
Like, I feel like you've got tunes where you want people to sort of like listen to it on their own with the headphones on, you know, sort of let it wash over them. It's about the emotional resonance. And then you've got tunes where you want people to like dance and turn up a little bit.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I find me personally, I enjoy my music best when I am listening on my own and really going through the emotions of every song that I listen to.
For sure.
Not to say that I don't enjoy it on a night out when I'm bouncing, but yeah, I think it's important to have that.
I think you listen to it in a different way.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Okay, yeah, let's move on to your latest project, Suicide City. It's probably the most energetic turned up record to date.
Yeah.
It's quite apt, you know, sort of segued the conversation there from what we were talking about. What vibe were you going for on that project in a sense? What vibe were you going for?
At that time, I was listening to a lot of The Weeknd, a lot of kind of Tory Lanez, you know, the Canadian duo.
Are you into like Canadian music specifically, or is it just?
It's not how I thought it would be. It just so happens that most of my favorite artists are from Canada. Maybe it's something about the way they write, the way they sing. I don't know. I mean, they say Canadians are really polite, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, how'd you do there?
Yeah. That sort of vibe. So maybe they're a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more emotional, because that's what I like in music.
It's quite culturally different to America. Obviously, like it's similar in a lot of ways, but then they get more like British TV.
Yeah.
It's just like
maybe that's what it is.
It is quite nuanced. It is a little bit different over there to just America. You know.
I find it funny. My dad grew up there for a little while.
Oh, for real? Interesting.
I don't know why that would make any kind of difference to my music taste, but again, I've got connections. Well, not connections, but people that I know over there.
Yeah.
Friends of family, that sort of thing. But yeah, no, I've just always liked the Canadian kind of sound. Drake, Weeknd, Tory. Like, I'd say I put them as my top 3 at the minute.
Yeah, they're just what's like in the cycle of listening.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, for sure. No, I think like, it's interesting how like you know, having like a sort of different cultural outlook in a sense can like produce you know, they're kind of like coming at the art from a different angle in a sense, and you listen to it for different reasons as opposed to what you listen to an American artist for.
Yeah.
Or you'd engage with it in a different way.
Precisely, yeah. I mean, I think, like I said, at that time, I was kind of finding my love for Tory Lanez and his music. And I think what I liked most about him is how he took maybe his faults and the things that weren't necessarily good about him and almost romanticizing them. And that's kind of inspired the angle at which I would write Suicide City from.
Well, is it a project that comes from like a lot of anger and rage, would you say?
I'd say 54 comes from anger and rage. Suicide City, whilst it's not a direct follow-up, I would say that's more the part where the rage kind of subsides and the feelings actually start hitting you like a bus. Do you know what I mean?
Shit.
Yeah.
I remember I feel things.
Literally. So yeah, they're kind of... They do follow on from each other in that sense, almost autobiographical, if that's the right word.
Autobiographical.
That's the one. Yeah.
I had to think about that for a second. Yeah, go on.
Like I say, I just like to be honest in my music and tell my story. So naturally, one's kind of followed on from the other. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, bro. That makes sense. One really interesting thing that I found about that latest project that you did, we touched on this earlier, but I was wondering if you could go into it a bit more. For the first like 3 or 4 tracks, there's like one consistent synth note that you build almost like 3 entirely different sounding songs out of that one note. That's really creative, outside the box, like whatever you want to call it. Really ambitious idea. How did you come up with that?
Not everything is necessarily done intentionally, right? You have these, I think any producer will know, you have happy accidents here and there. So I remember I had 3 tracks for Suicide City. I think at that point it was Homegirl, All Night, and Love Don't Live Here. And I knew I wanted a 4th. And I just happened to be mixing Homegirl in the studio. And I made this mistake where I accidentally pulled it down to like 20 BPM. And when I hit play... I heard the vocals stretch out and this bass elongate, and it just felt like it was kind of, everything was in slow motion.
This is exactly what it
created the emotion
sense,
I wanted for that final track, where everything's falling apart and you just everything's slow mo. Do you know what I mean? So naturally, like, I took the beat, I edited it, and like kind of gave it some structure.
Whistles around that.
Not necessarily even, just kind of. I think the only thing I really did is add the structure. And then when you listen to the chorus, I think the only thing that comes in the chorus is the vocal samples. So I dip them out for the verse, bring the vocal samples back in for the chorus, and then with like EQ, obviously bring the bass in and out to make it hit a little bit harder in certain places. But I didn't really change too much. Like I say, we just accidentally slowed it down, and one of my favorite tracks was kind of born off of that.
See, that's not like, that's kind of not the answer I was expecting.
No.
In a sense, I think it goes like, from what I've listened to of your stuff, I've pretty much listened to all of your music at this point. Journalistic integrity and all that.
It.
But no, from what I gather from you and listening to your stuff is, I think it goes one of two ways with you. One way is like you're trying the most like ambitious experimental stuff like possible, and then the other way is like it's almost like there's a beauty in the simplicity. As well. Like that's. You know,
sometimes
how do you navigate that? How do you decide which way you want to go with that?
I mean, sometimes it's all that's required. I think it's kind of hard to give you an exact kind of explanation for that, because as I say, it's like these ideas will come to me and I'll hear the beat behind the vocals and I'll hear part of this song. So I'm not necessarily considering whether what I'm creating is simple or crazy complicated. I think it's more about, like I say, creating that emotion. If anything, I think with the limited theory that I learned at university, that was a little bit of a hindrance to my creativity.
That's really interesting. Go expand a little bit more on that.
Like I said, I don't know much in terms of theory, but all I remember is having learnt the limited theory I learned, I'd sit down and I would create something that felt simple. And I almost start criticizing myself for it, almost being like, well, it's not good enough.
But that's kind of the mentality that it instills, and it's kind of bullshit in a way.
The best way to create music is to sit down, know nothing at all, click buttons until you find something that sounds beautiful.
I think a lot of the best stuff comes as a result of that.
Exactly.
For sure, yeah, man.
So there's not an exact kind of approach to deciding whether what I'm making is kind of experimental, mainstream, or even branching out into something I haven't done before.
It's not as like methodical as that.
No, it's more just what feels right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it depends what kind of mood you're feeling on the day. Like, am I going to go something that's like completely outside the box? Am I going to go something that like, you know, is going to be accessible for people to listen to and dance to? Or I'm going to go with the more sort of simplistic beauty, emotional side. Yeah. It's like there's lots of there's something like really cool in and of itself, like having those different facets of yourself that you can tap into in a sense.
I think everyone has them. It's whether people want to admit the different sides of themselves that they have. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Like, some people want to portray themselves as this type of person, that type of person. In reality, we go through cycles. Do you know what I mean? We have different sides of ourselves that we face every day. And I think it's important to, again, keep that genuine vibe in your music and face everything in your music. Do you know what I mean?
Face it all head on and like be the most authentic version of yourself, for sure, bro. The title track of that project sounds to me as though it was Suicide City from Suicide City. That sounds as though it was about like your relationship with your hometown in a sense. I got the vibe that it's a place that you have a lot of love for, but you had to, leave to see more of the world, only to maybe find out that the world is a scary place as well. On the other side of that, you could flesh out that sort of concept, that experience. That'd be great.
I'd actually kind of turn that on its head, actually. So the song itself is more about having lived in London for so long, and for the most part, I loved it. In the final year, which is kind of where Suicide City was written, I became quite lonely, quite isolated, and emotionally it got really, really hard. So as much as my plan was to stay in London when I finished university, it got to the point where it was like, I don't know if I can hack it. So it's actually about going home, and the song itself is about my relationship with London and how I love the city and all the things I've seen, but also I've seen a little bit too much. I've ended up here, and now I feel like I've got nothing, no one, this, that, and the other. It was getting really hard. So I think it was more like almost explaining to the city, like, I've got to go. As amazing as you fucking are, I've got to go.
For like your own well-being.
And just rejuvenate socially, kind of soak up a little bit of love at home, and then get back to it. So that was kind of about London and how much I loved it, but how much I had to get out of it in the same way, because it's almost like a toxic relationship.
I was gonna say, like, being in like an actual relationship is quite similar to that, isn't it? Like, I love you, but I've got to go. And if you want me to be happy, then you'll be happy for me to leave.
Exactly. But equally, like, I still love the city. I want to get back there now, as toxic as it might have been for me.
I think it's probably just about, that's the thing with somewhere like London. It's like, you can be somewhere and it's just like very like chaos, very exciting, but chaos. And then you can go 5 minutes down the road and it's like peaceful and tranquil. And you can sort of like tap into that excitement when you want it. And it's it's just about being in the right part of the city and having the right engagement with it whilst you're there, in a sense.
But in the same way, I kind of miss the kind of emotional content I had at that point. Like, I would go through it all again if I meant I could feel inspired to write another project. Do you know what I mean? Now that I've kind of recovered and, you know, I'm willing to put myself through it again, because I feel like as artists we need these little episodes of life to take inspiration from.
For sure. Yeah, man, that's like, you've got to, it goes back to that idea again as well, doesn't it? You've got to like have these experiences, like learn from them, and, you know, like learn kind of what you want out of life and what you want from a certain adventure. Or man, it's all one interconnected web, isn't it? That's a beautiful thing, man. Beautiful thing. With this sort of new, sound scope that you're diving into, experimenting with, how are you able to sort of translate something like that live? Because I imagine with the early stuff, I imagine it was maybe easier to translate that live, whereas with the newer stuff, it's like a little bit more ambitious. I imagine there's more of a sort of thought process to actually translating that live. Yeah,
I mean, I've always kind of worked with backing tracks. As amazing as it would be to have like a band, I've kind of always relied on backing tracks.
But experimenting with live instrumentation is something that you'd like to do in the future?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe not myself personally, as if anyone knows me, they know I like to have a little bit of a dance on stage and move about. So I'd love to. You
very much see yourself as like the front man.
Yeah. But I would love to, I think there's something to be said about having other musicians on stage with you. Like, when you've got so many talented people out there, it would be a waste to slap a backing track on when you could have him play the guitar live, and it translates so much better for the audience. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
But no, with this recent stuff, I think, it's a little bit more ambitious. I think I touched earlier on how, as I'm writing projects, sometimes I'll listen back to a song and I'll be like, how am I actually going to sing like that for the full 4 minutes song, and then do another one after it? Do you know what I mean? Like, but you just improve to meet your new material. I think it's important to push yourself.
Like it kind of, like that's, I was going to say, that doesn't sound like necessarily a bad thing.
No,
it gets you like...
It's like Love Don't Live Here. That's quite strenuous on the vocal cords, if you will.
Yeah, like another one that's like, I'd describe it as like very ambitious, very outside the box. Like, you very much pushing the boundaries of yourself with that tune.
But I think it's important because, I was getting something off my chest there. So I was wanting to get it off my chest, not just, hum you a little tune. Do you know what I mean? It feels it feels good getting that energy out. Do you know what I mean?
100%,
and projecting like that. I think it portrays exactly what I felt like at the time, and I can tap into it every time I perform that song just through screaming those vocals.
Does it throw you when you perform? Not just that tune, but like any tune that you've like written throughout your sort of career so far. Does it throw you back to that place and that time every time you perform those, or do you have that kind of separation from it at this point in time?
I feel like the right answer is to say yes, it takes me back to that time every time. But if I'm honest, like, sometimes being on stage is the only place I need to feel I'm in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll be enjoying myself on stage, so I'll be soaking up that moment rather than
Such an
slipping back
adrenaline
into
rush.
Yeah. But don't get me wrong, I think after a certain amount of time, say like the older projects amongst, which I haven't listened to for a little while now, I reckon if I were to pop that on in the car on the way home, you'd be like, shit, bro. Do you know what I mean? Like, it would take you back because it's just been that long since you've kind of visited that past version of yourself.
And that headspace, for sure, man. Yeah, 100%. Do you think, like, like you said, you take a little bit of time, and, like, I suppose this is more of like a kind of like ego question in a sense, and that, not to say, I think you're quite a self-aware dude, and I think it's all right to have conversations about like ego and that idea of the construct of ego, and you're sort of self-aware in and of yourself to be able to have a conversation like this. But like, do you think you'd like listen back to something like that and go like, damn, bro, like I was on some like shit back in the day, sort of thing. Like I was that guy, you know? Yeah,
like I don't know, man. I think the ego's there. Again, it's about recognizing what's ego and what isn't.
I think that's the difference. I think because everyone's got an ego.
Yeah,
everyone's got an ego. I think the difference between like just a normal person, someone who's like an egotist, is someone who isn't self-aware.
Yeah, they don't know it's ego. That's the ironic thing. The people with the worst egos don't know they got the egos. Do you know what I mean?
That's it. I think it's good to have an ego to a degree, as long as you're like aware of it and you keep it in check. That's the thing.
Use it to your advantage. Don't make it other people's fucking problem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to go waving it in other people's face, so to speak. But so long as you know what you're good at, what your values are, what you're going for, I think an ego can be used to your own advantage.
100%. Yeah, like because especially with like the way, because obviously we've talked a lot about the sort of construct of the music, and like you kind of want to do something like kind of like you think outside the box. You very much like you want to do something beyond just sort of like face value, and I get that there's kind of an ambition in the construct of the music in and of itself, vocally, musically, whatever you want to talk about it. But another dimension of what you're doing is the performance art. It's the whole like performance side of things. So like, I imagine like you've kind of got to have that self-belief every time you go up there to be able to kind of do what you do and perform like that in a sense, you know?
There's times where your energy isn't there before you get up on stage, and you just got to throw everything into it, shake it off, and kind of throw absolutely all your energy at it. But not every show is going to be your best show. I think equally, when you rock up and you're feeling good, that's always a good feeling. But I think getting the performance right is really important to me as an artist. I feel like, music really and truly is made to be enjoyed as a community by multiple people, by lots of people.
Oh God, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So making sure I make that experience as enjoyable, but also as authentic as possible. Like whether you're listening to the record or you're listening from a live audience, like I'm trying to tell this story. So as much as I am present on stage, there'll be part of me that's wanting to tap into the emotions that I felt back then in reference to your past question.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
To make sure that the audience feel what the song is about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like you want them to get it first and foremost, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I get that, bro. Because it's like even when you're talking about this, like you're still coming at it from like a selfless point of view. It's about how the audience experiences it, like you said.
Definitely.
Like it's not just about you getting up there and going, look how great I am.
No.
It's like, no, you want the people to buy into what you're trying to say, in a sense.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think every artist wants to be appreciated for their music and for their art. But I think the best way of doing that isn't by trying to make what is going to be appreciated, isn't trying to make what people already like. You've got to give them a piece of yourself, and it's up to them whether they like you or they don't like you. And not everyone's going to like you, so that's cool.
Yeah.
It's just like how you carry yourself as a person. Do you know what I mean?
So you don't worry too much about like people who aren't going to gravitate towards your music. Your concern is with people who are going to like it and are going to fuck with it.
I think, as you kind of already said, it starts within yourself, right? I think there'll be a lot of artists that sit there writing songs and they'll come up with a line, they'll be like, nah, that's cringe. Cringe is where the value is. Do you know what I mean? If
to an extent,
if you're cringing at something, it's because you are not wanting to feel it for whatever reason, whether it's embarrassment or whether it's cringy because it's wet and emotional, or whether it's cringy because, I don't know, whatever. If you're feeling cringe about it, it's just because you don't want to accept that statement or that feeling. So I think that's what it's about. Like, when I was writing Home Girl, there was parts of it where I thought, maybe this is a little bit cringy. I'm saying this about some girl that I've been linking for, a couple weeks. But hey, I'm feeling it right now. We're going to put it in the song. It's a real emotion.
And the reality probably was, like, it's probably like a couple of months after that situation that song came out anyway.
But you felt it in that instant. So it's necessary.
It in the moment when you're writing it. Yeah, but that's where the most honest stuff
like you say, you kind of decorate
sense.
your walls with pictures. You decorate time with sound and music. Do you know what I mean?
For sure, bro.
So again, having these timestamps, and it's important to be honest with yourself in the moment, because you're not going to get that moment back. So.
No. And I imagine listening back to that stuff makes you like deal with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
In a roundabout way, you know?
Definitely.
Okay, yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the future. What upcoming projects are you working on in the pipeline for fans to look forward to?
That is something I very much wish I could answer right now. We're working on stuff.
I mean, I was going to say, to be fair, Suicide City came out like this year. Like, you had a project drop this year.
It's been a fairly strong year. I think I had Suicide City and 54 lined up for a little while because I was in my kind of final years of uni, so that was very much the focus. So when I finished uni, it was right, we got 8 projects across the two to drop, and we've kind of had a fairly consistent year, which is something I wish I could realistically keep up going forward. I think, as I've said earlier, like, there comes a point where you do need to wait for another episode of life to come along and inspire you. If I'm going to keep doing what is kind of feels right to me and being honest, like with kind of life at the minute, don't get me wrong, it's cool, we're chilling, but we're going to work, we're getting home. Do you know what I mean? There's not much of an emotional catalogue to write from. Do you know what I mean?
No, I get that. Like, you're more just having fun, like touring the music from like the latest tunes,
getting out,
like,
and performing whilst
people,
I don't have too much to kind of get off my chest. But yeah, I think if I'm gonna keep what I value most in my music, which is honesty and me having something to say through my music, I need to wait until I have something to say.
You don't just want it to be bullshit. Like,
that's
you want
the thing.
it
Like,
to
don't
be
get me
real,
wrong. I could sit down, I could put some 808s together and chat a load of shit, but that's not what I'm about. So
no, you like,
whether it's next year or a couple years, like, there will be something coming.
You like curated these things, for sure. Man.
When it arrives, it will be honest. It will be genuinely inspired by life, and it will be another part of my story. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
for sure, man. Like, you're kind of just in the sort of like beginning stage, like the nucleus of like that idea. But I respect that you're not like over promising to your listeners. It's like,
don't get me
I've
wrong.
just dropped these 2 projects, they bangers. Like, listeners can like enjoy those, but like, we're not going to rush the next thing. Basically,
absolutely.
You want it to be
good. We're working on a few singles. Don't get me wrong. I'm still kind of sitting there. I'm creating music. It's about cherry picking what I feel is the best to kind of give you guys. I think we're not quite done with Suicide City just yet. What do you mean? In what sense? So I have got a remix of Home Girl coming out featuring an amazing artist called Sheena Ray, and that kind of just adds the kind of female kind of perspective to that song, which I think she's absolutely nailed with the lyrics and the performance. Like, I really like it. Maybe more than the original. I don't know.
Sometimes it's good when another artist puts their like fizz on something.
And do you know what? I think what I loved about it most is that the angle she put on it just so happened to be the angle I reckon would have been like from the other girl. Do you know what I mean? Home Girl, if you will. So I'm quite excited for that.
She was the missing piece of the jigsaw.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, I think we've also got a virtual reality music video coming for Suicide City.
Cool. Fucking cool.
which, yeah, like I had a lot of fun creating that. It was a ball ache, don't get me wrong, but we figured it out.
Yeah.
So I'm very much looking forward to dropping that.
Is that something like, obviously, like getting like actual music videos is something that you've touched on that you'd be interested in,
Yeah.
but like doing like animation style things,
So
like is that like that's not something that you see as like holding you back in a way? That's something else that you want to kind of get into, really.
Again, I think with Suicide City and that project, like I felt so in it at the time, and I want to put other people in that space. Like I want to bring people into Suicide City.
It's not just like a mixtape. It is like almost a place and
yeah.
that you
Like
want
for
to
me,
like draw people into. It's an experience.
for things to feel really grounded, I think any kind of music or song, it needs to have a space, a sonic space, an environment that it lives in, right? That you create with sound.
Oh God, for sure.
And I just wanted to add the kind of visual aspect to that sound. For me, like all the synths are kind of like reflective of all the lights you've got flying past you in London, and then you've got the bass, which is the grit and the dirt of it all. I don't know, like I created the sound around how the city made me feel. So I wanted to bring the visual aspect in.
Let make it this like whole round thing. In a
exactly.
sense.
And also kind of just run people through what kind of like a night would be like for me in that kind of time frame, if you will. So I think the first couple songs are kind of like live performance. Got the 360 camera in a show I put on actually in Peterborough, my hometown. And that's got the first 2 tracks of Suicide City.
Very cool,
And then we move into kind of more of a street walk through of London and London Bridge and the Shard, where you can look around and see it all.
And you filmed all this on like a GoPro?
It was on like a 360 degree camera that I then converted into 180.
So it's almost like a point of view type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
When's this dropping? When's this coming out?
I haven't got an exact release date yet.
But it's done, it's there.
Yeah. The Homegirl remix will be out on the 24th, I believe.
Fantastic.
And then the VR video will soon follow.
Awesome, yeah, can't wait to see it, bro. You'll have to send me that one, dude.
And obviously we'll pop the live tracks up on Spotify as well, so you've got that live version to go.
Yeah, I think like capturing that live sound is like so, there's just something about it. It's raw, isn't it?
Yeah, it's another layer of emotion that you don't get from the record, if you will.
That's it, man. That's it for sure. Any other singles you got like lined up coming out soon?
Not as of yet, or at least not that I'm quite ready to share.
No, it's all things that are like being developed. When you come to doing like a next full project, obviously that might be next year or the year after that or whatever. I noticed that the 3 or 4 projects you've done already have all been sort of like 4 or 5 tracks.
Yeah.
Which is cool because I think that's it's not too much for people. It's like kind of like you can put that on for like 20 minutes. It draws people in. Like it's very like catchy and engaging. Have you thought about doing a more of a long form piece though? Maybe something like 8 tracks, 10 tracks, something like that.
An album is something I'm kind of refraining from for the time being, just because.
Reason being.
Just because if I'm gonna drop say an hour's worth of music or whatever, I want the demand to be there for it. I want people to be waiting for it, waiting on it. I wouldn't want to, quote unquote, waste a debut album before the demand is there. So for now, we're going to carry on working on singles, maybe a few EPs here and there.
Yeah.
If I feel an episode of life is worth 4 songs, then we might get a few EPs.
The kind of that I'm getting my head around sort of your formatting. So if it's like an individual sort of throwaway piece, that'll be a single.
Yeah.
Whereas you see your like sort of
if there's
4, 5, 6 track EPs, mixtapes, whatever you want to call them, that's like an episode of life.
Yeah, I like to. Sometimes you can't fit it into one song. Do you know what I mean? It's more complicated than that.
Yeah, you need to flesh out the idea a bit more.
But again, I like to make sure it's clear what is kind of one instance and what is kind of one instance, if you know what I mean. But yeah.
Yeah, like separating those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get it. On sort of like broader perspective, I guess. What's next for you as an artist in general? How far are you hoping to push this, and what's the ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal, as much as some people might not want to admit it, is stadium tours and, you know, being the very, very best I can be and seeing how far we can take this shit, man.
Thing is, it's like, because it sounds like that's the kind of thing where, like, you know, you shoot for the stars, but like, what's kind of like, if that's not your goal, what's the point?
What are you in it for?
Yeah, exactly. What are we all doing here?
I mean,
you know
don't
what I mean?
get me wrong. There's some people that can write a song and be happy with that song, and that's all that matters to them. I commend them for that. Part of me wishes that was me, because sometimes reaching for these heights is a little bit of a struggle. Does make you question yourself.
You're an intelligent guy. Like, I sometimes think, like, because like I try and I'm not saying I'm like the smartest man in the world. I know I'm not, but I have a level of intelligence to where it's like, you know, like I'm kind of aware of what's going on, and I envy people who. Like, there is some truth to saying, like, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I wish I could be like that. And I feel like you have a different engagement with it, but it's that same kind of thing as, like, I wish I wasn't. Or not all the time, but
it's like, in ways,
you wish you could. Yeah.
I'm so grateful I've got this calling, because it's like I hold down a 9 to 5, but I've got something worth chasing outside of that 9 to 5. Like, I feel sorry for people that rock up to work and that is their life. You know, that's what they live for, to go to work and then come back out. As much as I do the exact...
It's not like a looking down thing. Like, you
no,
respect
yeah, 100%.
But it's not like... I feel like feeling sorry is the wrong
lucky.
word.
I feel lucky to have something that feels like could bring me more. You know, there's more to life, and as much as that can be a painful truth sometimes when it's not necessarily in the palm of your hand, at least it's there to be chased. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's not something that like would like having the whole like, you know, the normal like 9 to 5 carry on and that's all you've got. It's like you respect people who do that.
Oh yeah,
but it's not, you couldn't live your life that way. I think that's all that you're really trying to say.
I mean, Lord, no. I hope it doesn't end up that way. But yeah, I think, like you say,
it's like escaping. That is what we're all trying to do here. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's. I wish I could be happy doing that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's amazing that is enough for some people, and the family life and getting up in the morning, walking the dog. You know, that can be enough for some people. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit of a wild one, and I just need a little bit more. Yeah. Which is all right, man.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Yeah, I just want to see how far we can take it, man.
It's interesting how that kind of ambition like translates itself into your music in like certain facets of it, at least. It's like, you know, that whole idea of like, I'm not going to do the whole, like, I could just, like, as you described it, do some 808s, talk some bullshit. Like, that ambitious is not just a philosophy in life, it's like that translates to your craft.
I appreciate
as
that.
well.
I haven't thought about it in that way before, but no, I like
that. There's the parallel there. There's the crossover.
I see that.
It applies in both facets of your life and your world, in a sense. Where can people find you on social media and listen to your music, my good guy?
Social media, I am Archer Official. The official is spelt with a 0, fairly ironically.
Quite lucky with that tag, though.
Nah, it's not bad. I just wish I had the O rather than the 0. I mean, it beats itself at its own game. It says official, it's really not official. Do you know what I mean? But we'll get there. So yeah, that's my user for Instagram and TikTok. And then if you want to find my music, obviously I'm Archer. Search any one of my projects, 54, Suicide City, Amongst, Tampa, and I should come up.
I mean, man's got a lot of music out, so there's a lot of, for any new listeners out there, there's a lot to be getting on with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that just comes from starting at a young age and knowing what I've wanted from a young age, do you know what I mean? So again, I'm grateful for that. But yeah, no.
Fantastic. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you ever so much.
Check out the live session. We've already done that. I feel like the interview will probably come out first, though. So check out the live session. Keep an eye out for when that drops. Drop a like and a subscribe, of course. Means a lot to us over here at the bunker. But my dude, it's been a pleasure. Thank you ever so much.
Love, my bro.
No worries, my dog. No worries. Always good to have exciting people like yourself
appreciate
on.
it a lot, and thank you for
you're the lifeblood of this place, my brother, or people like yourself, should I say?
No, thank you for your questions and your insight, bro. Like, it's a pleasure for someone to give enough of a fuck to sit here for this long with me and have a good chat. So
It's what I do, bro. I mean, it's like it's not about me. It's about other people. I want to create like a platform for you guys. Do you know what I mean? And it's coming from a sincere place.
We need you guys.
You've made the journey. You showed up. So here we are, bro. But yeah, that's been the interview for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, keep an eye out for upcoming interviews, live sessions, all that good stuff. We'll be coming back with more. And yeah, take it easy. See you on the other side. Catch you on the next one, people. Peace out.